Hi, this is Dr. Bob Hieronymus, and we have some great things to show you today. We'll be right back.
I've always wished that I could somehow see the cars or things that I paint from a distance. Because it must be pretty interesting for someone just standing alongside of the road seeing a painted car go by with a message on it. Everything that I paint has a message and has a story. This car in particular, I've had and driven and painted for the last 4 years, tells a story of the United States and the changes that are going on within it. Statue of Liberty. It's a very strange statue. It was given to us by France and designed and made by a group of Freemasons. What the Statue of Liberty is holding is a torch of light. Light has always been a symbol for love and wisdom. So we have here a symbol of our country, the upholder of love and wisdom.
I want to show you the bus that literally has a life all of its own that we painted back there in 1968, went up to Woodstock, and this past 40th anniversary, this bus was everywhere. It was New York Times, you name it, CBS, CNN, everybody was showing this bus. Not saying who did it, of course. that's the usual way and that kind of thing, but when you saw it in the newspapers, and we have seen it in the Sun paper maybe a dozen times, the same amount of times in the New York Times as well, you usually saw the front of this particular bus. And this bus literally being called Light, as you can see to the side here, tells the same kind of story that the other car does outside, but in a different way. When you take a look at the wings, take a look at the winged cross, the winged cross at the very front, with the astrological signs. Literally, you have a story here of spirit, and spirit through the zodiac, spirit through higher consciousness, and you might not be able to see some of these symbols here because they're very small, like the sistrum here. The UFO is right there in the front. We put it all out there, let it all hang out there out front. I didn't want to go to Woodstock because I heard there was going to be 50,000 people up there, and that meant to me I was not going to be able to spend any time with my favorite Jimi Hendrix because I was kind of concentrating all the time. If you go out and you meet some of these guys, talk about important stuff because that's what we talked about. Now, I did this bus. This bus tells the story, literally, of Woodstock in 1968 before it happened. As a matter of fact, that's what all the books that have been published in booklets and pamphlets that have been published about this book that I did not publish. They determined it, not me. I didn't make these statements. I'm quoting them when I talk about these kind of things. But at the very front, if you saw this bus in the Sun paper, you usually saw this side. If you saw the bus in Life magazine or Associated Press or Rolling Stone, they showed sometimes this side and other sides. And the story here is all about love. Literally, it's the coming together. See this winged being here, this winged cross underneath is a serpent biting its tail, which means infinity, eternity. In eternal love is the heart, right in the center with all the other planets around it. It's holding a sistrum, a symbol for Egyptian vibration. The vibration, all things are vibration. If things cease to vibrate, they do not exist. So this front car car actually shows a UFO. I put that down there because I knew that there were a lot of people that were going to, they didn't even think that UFOs were around anywhere. But I wanted to make sure that people understood that we weren't alone in the universe, never have been, and we're never alone wherever we are, because throughout the atmosphere, sitting in this room, as I am right now, are other beings which you cannot see. There is no place where you can go on this planet that there aren't other living beings. I don't expect you to believe that, but that's the truth. Now, when we get to this side of the bus, light, this tells a story about the group, but most importantly, it has a lot to do with the rising sun. What is the rising sun symbolized about? Well, the rising sun is the sun within our bodies. It's the Kundalini energy force found at the base of the spine, that when you meditate and when you pray and when you serve others and help others, this Kundalini force, this energy, comes up the spine, and you can become a genius overnight, because that spiritual fire ignites the brain in such a way, if it's done properly, that you will have a cosmic consciousness experience. That's literally what light is about. And the rising sun. You remember George Harrison's Rising Sun, all the stuff about the sun, here comes the sun. That's what they were talking about. Higher levels of consciousness rather than just a physical sun rising in the sky. But this side of the bus tells the most important story because of the Sphinx. And those of you who have a copy of Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, yes, that's right, this is the book. This is the bus that you will see within the first 40 seconds of the film Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock. They show the Sphinx with the door open. Now, the lovely thing about this particular work is literally all of these doors open. See how easy it opens here? Well, all of these doors open, and I've got to be very careful with them, obviously. But the Sphinx, what is the Sphinx? The Sphinx basically is all human beings. It has an animal body and a human head, but it's a head that's cowled. That is a head that is in control, mastership. That's what that cowl is all about, that they had that they wore. So what you have literally is a human being that's in control of their lower animal nature. That is the Sphinx. That's Egypt. But this symbol here, the trident. The trident, those who know a little bit about Plato, they know a little bit about Atlantis, they know about Neptune, etc. That's what the trident is all about. It is about Atlantis. This is a symbol for another ancient land called Mu, or Lemuria, down in the Indian Ocean. So what you have is Egypt, you have Atlantis, you have Lemuria, but what's in the background? A whole series of these 6-pointed stars. It tells a story that literally the foundation behind all of this is this coming together, this unification, which within the Jewish tradition was symbolized by the 6-pointed star, and doesn't necessarily mean that it was just Jewish. It was a formula. It was that spirit coming into matter. Below it, you have the 10 divine incarnations of Vishnu. Then when you look at this piece, then, it's Egypt, it's Israel, it's India, it's Atlantis, and it's Lemuria, and it's even more than that, because there are other symbols of secret societies on here. What I was saying in the light bus is we're all one people on one planet. We can all get along. We can all work together. Makes no difference what your religious beliefs are, because we have at the very base this whole concept of do unto others. Whatever you do to someone is going to return to you. And that's really important when you get to karma and reincarnation. When we get to the rear of the bus, we get to all kinds of interesting symbolism which other individuals have had a difficult time interpreting. But let's just focus right here. When I originally did this bus, I wrote on the very back, "He is coming." I wasn't quite happy about that, because what about women in this? It wasn't later on that you see this S, the silver S that I added to the gold. The silver is the feminine, the gold is the masculine, and what you have is she is coming. This is the divine incarnation of the feminine powers, which is us. You know, human beings, well, if I'm a human being, I'm about maybe 51% DNA is masculine. I'm about 49% plus DNA, which is feminine. Women are just the reverse. So there's no such thing as being all male or all female. We are a balance of those two energies, and we're a balance of those two energies because in previous lifetimes, how did we treat the opposite sex? How did we treat other people? The way you treat other people is going to manifest in the next life that you have. Obviously, I believe that kind of stuff, and that's the reason why I put it in almost all of my artwork. And on the back of the bus and elsewhere, you have a statement which has shocked a lot of people, and that is, on this side of the bus we have, "We live on this side of the bus to serve." This is my philosophy about religion. Prayer is talking to the divine being. Meditation is listening to the divine being. So you have a conversation going on there. Now, what this conversation is all about is really key. What is it? Serving. Serving others. Helping others that are less fortunate. And this is what I mentioned so many minutes ago in regards to trying to understand an aspect of our consciousness in balance. Living and serving are really key to how we work out our empathy towards people who are less fortunate. And in the future, we're going to be tested on this in the years to come. We are going to have to look out for each other. Our government cannot do it. We have a few big problems of a Katrina or a hurricane or a tornado or somewhere else. We have 2 or 3 places like that in the entire world, and we're almost helpless. The governments cannot get the food and the water and everything else to them. In other words, we must look out for each other. So, when you pray and you talk to God, and then you listen to what He has to say, internally you can find out what you are supposed to do to help each other. It's very simple, because all you got to do is look in your neighborhood. You're never away from the kind of things you're in a certain place for a very definite reason. If you look around and you see, hey, that lady over there who's 85 years old, how is she going to get her food and water? Well, why not just help her? Why not just do it? You don't need to make a big thing of it. You certainly don't need to be paid for it. But that type of service to others repeatedly over a period of time alters your consciousness. And when you do that and other people see you serving others and helping others, then they also begin to feel like, that's not such anybody can do this. And that is what we're really going to need in our neighborhoods, in our cities, in states, and across the country. Serving and helping others and listening to be a balanced individual. Now, the rooftop of this car has the American flag, but it's also a Kabbalistic story here going on. I put it right up here on top. Pray. This has shocked more people, even when the big intellectuals look at this bus and they're all for it, and then they see pray, and they can't make heads or tails out of this, Bob. What's this all about? What are you trying to tell people, that if you don't pray, they're bad people? No, I'm just saying that it is an excellent tool in elevating your consciousness and awareness. And it's what up here that I think is most important. This has caused a lot of controversy with other people. In here is Christ in you. Right there. They kept saying, is this a religious bus, Dr. Bob? No, it's not. But Christ in you is the divine spirit within you. On this side of the bumper is the voice of silence. When we began talking a while ago, it was the silence that changed me. It was not just someone lecturing me. But by being in my studio for 8, 12, 14, 16 hours at a time, 5, 6, 7 days a week, months at a time, for 2.5 to 3 years, it changes you. You can't help but being changed, because all of a sudden you're seeing and hearing things that other people have not experienced. And it's your heart. It's the God within you. You can call it Christ, you can call it whatever you want, but Christ is within that being, that Christos consciousness is within all of us. That's what makes us different than animals mostly. But animals also have souls, but that's for another story. We don't have our dogs here to demonstrate that. So this bus literally is a story about elevation of consciousness and awareness, that you can do it through prayer, meditation, and service to others, and that is all about light and enlightenment. That's the key to the Woodstock bus. And that's part of what was going on up there at Woodstock, because I don't know where you could ever get 100,000, 200,000, 3, 4, or 500,000 people together. Give them, say if you gave them about 22 cases of beer. What do you think would happen? They would not get along the way they did up at Woodstock. Our whole aspect and approach to what drugs are and what they are all about is another thing that America will sooner or later have to rectify, mainly because these are our physical bodies. They're not owned by the government. And if one wants to take a certain drug, in my opinion, they should be allowed to do it because it's their body. Unfortunately, it's going to take decades before that idea gets any big play in the media.
Quite nice to come in from the middle of the city and pull into Savitria, where it's quiet. With one exception this time, and that's the locusts. Really quite a beautiful place here. I never thought that I'd be living in a place so magnificent in such a short time. Just less than a year ago, I lived in one of those little brick ovens down in the middle of the city. Terribly hot, and never got the chance to look at any trees. Have I ever painted you before? Okay, I'm seeing you today for the first time, and he's a Sagittarius. December the 12th.
I want a peace sign.
You want a peace sign. Well, we're just doing astrological birth signs, but would you settle for your astrological birth sign? Now,
I tell you what part.
you tell me what part of the lion this is, and I draw this on here. What do you think that is? Don't tell him.
Ear.
An ear. No, that's a good guess, but that's not it.
I know what it is.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him. What do you think? What part of the lion is that?
His tail.
A tail. Congratulations. You win a free trip to Bermuda.
What is that symbol that you have in here?
This is for Gemini.
For Gemini? You're a Gemini then?
Yes.
The 5th. One day after the country's birthday. Well, I'll be. That's really something. The scorpion, which is a symbol for the material world, and then there's a snake, which is a symbol for mind. pretty hard working up here with all this noise sometimes. People are always walking by and saying something. They're always talking to you. I haven't done any artwork yet up here at all. All I've been doing is acting like a house painter. When you work on any mural, that's exactly what you have to be for a while. A house painter, and covering in big areas. It gets pretty frustrating. People always think you're finished. A long time ago when I wanted to paint murals, I didn't realize that there was so much boredom involved and so much physical labor involved. And anyone who has painted a large painting knows that you have to physically outlast your piece of work somehow. This piece of work probably won't take more than a week and a half more. That we've started here is a meditation center and a food center. Kind of like a place where people can get together and eat, and at the same time learn something about what's going on in the occult world. There will be yoga classes, meditation classes, classes in astrology, and then later on I'll be teaching some classes in symbology here.
We're very much hung up on the gallery situation, on the art marketplace, on the kind of egocentric involvements that go along with any manufacturer presenting a particular product. I think that Bob is very much outside of this involvement, this hang-up. He is much more interested in presenting his philosophic and religious point of view to the public than he is with presenting the product as such.
Well, this is where I spend most of my time in study, because I found that in order for me to do a mural, it might take several months to do at least. I work in a very strange way than most other artists work. Some of it has to do with the kinds of things that I study before I do a mural. It takes me quite a long time to decide what general themes I'll undertake. As a matter of fact, sometimes it takes 7 to 8 months just to prepare the study for murals such as the Apocalypse and the Lord's Prayer, and it takes just as much time to finish the painting itself. What I do before I start a piece of work is that I collect as much information about the subject, be it the Apocalypse or the Lord's Prayer, and then I put all of this information together and I eventually write a book. I'm in the process now of writing 4 different books in parables, in parable form, and in symbolic form. And the mission of these books is mainly to show how it is possible to raise consciousness through symbols. Over here you can see the so-called raw data of 9 different books that I've been working on, which will be put together in consolidated form and be 4 volumes. After I study for a long period of time a certain subject, then I do drawings. This is a finished piece of work which will go into another, be part of just another larger piece of work, a mural which would be upstairs in the meditation room. This is an album cover for a group called Light that I've been working with for the last 2 years.
I think people who are willing to open up can get something from Bob's art. And I think that there are more people who are beginning to study ancient symbols and who are beginning to realize the universal qualities among cultures and among men, the universal, whether they be modern or ancient beliefs, that are once again beginning to surface in our Western culture. Bob is helping them surface. Those who will hear will hear.
He is also using symbols that anyone interested in the occult will realize are very, very old symbols. And yet they are not symbols that have had a wide public recognition or esteem. So he is taking what is old, but giving it to us, and as a matter of fact, though it's been there for a long time for us to learn about and to prize, relative to our culture, it's new. The more important the symbol, the richer it is in meaning. And the more highly developed the artist who works with a symbol, the more he's aware of the diverse meaning of the symbol, its wealth of meaning, and the various ways in which it can enter into our culture. So yes, Bob would use the same symbol in many different directions.
Well, the Living Hall mural, I don't think I ever saw an explanation of or heard a detailed explanation of. I wandered into it with Bob, and there it is, and my first reaction to it was, wow. And suddenly it's like being in the belly of a mural.
Everywhere you look, there is a marvelous cacophony of color, form, line, and pattern, interspersed with the Egyptian Sphinx, the Statue of Liberty going down in flames, the bull, the lion, the Great Seal of the United States, pyramids, flying saucers, the Milky Way galaxy, flags of many countries, myriad stars and comets, and angels and banks of clouds.
You can have direct reaction, yes, but it's the after effect, the echo that really gets you. That's what catches up and grabs you in the back of the neck.
Well, that's the show for today, and I'm Dr. Bob Hieronymus, and we'll see you next time.